to the No Practice Podcast, where we cover the only sport in the world where there is no practice. With your mini rod driving host, Adam Kester, Tyler Slaw, and Chase Richardson. Strap in for some debates on the world of pulling, exclusive special guests, and a whole lot of nonsense BS. The No Practice Podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody. Today is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, and this is the No Practice Podcast. I want to take a second before we start just to begin and say we remember 9/11, 2001, terrible day in American history, and I just would like to take a second and have like a little moment of silence for everybody for the 9/11.
Patriots Day.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, welcome everybody to episode 25.
25.
This is crazy, guys. 25 episodes of the No Practice Podcast. With me, like usual, is Chase Richardson and Tyler Slaw. How's it going, guys?
Doing well.
Happy quarter century show. We're not far from our 1 year anniversary. Maybe we can get a cake for Adam, you to jump out of for that show. I think that'd be good for the viewers.
Who'd have thought we'd actually make it a year?
Who would have thought we had fans? You know, we never talk about enough, but it's amazing, you fans. Every event, no matter where it is across the country, we always have people coming up and talking to us. We don't take ourselves that serious, but we feel the love, and you never go unnoticed, and that's what we're doing this for, is for the fans, for the community, and the people that love this sport like we do.
Yes, we take none of the credit. We give it all to our wonderful guests. Pulling has so many good personalities, and we get the privilege to show them off.
That's right. So, boys, it's been a couple weeks since the last podcast. A lot of stuff has happened.
So much.
I kind of lost track even what happened last episode.
Let's start with Wasion. I believe we crowned a two-wheel drive champion, and I think he's with us tonight. Isn't that right?
It was
not at Wasion. Wasion was mini rods, but I really appreciate all the prep work you did for the show, knowing where they're.
Well, I get these Ohio pulls mixed up. Chase, where did you take the championship?
The two-wheel drive championship was won in Canton, Ohio, the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that was
but they were pretty.
That was the week of our last show. That's right.
They were pretty close to each other.
Yeah. So you throw the state out there, I guess that's
same
all
night, right? Yeah. Same night, basically.
Sure. It was close to Michigan, but nice call. Nice intro. Once again, this is called the No Practice Podcast. Only sport in the world where there is no practice, and the hosts do not practice the script.
The problem with that is I was watching Wasion because they had mini rods there, and Chase was pulling his two-wheel drive, and that was where he won the championship. So, Chase, when you made your last pass of the season, you still theoretically could have lost it, correct?
Yeah, 100%. It was, yes. I think I had a 6-point lead.
Were you nervous backing up to the sled? Did it take you 17 tries like it did at that one event?
Well, I have a rule when I pull two-wheel drive trucks. Probably shouldn't say in this show, but I just always
drink a beer,
stay back in the trailer next to the cooler and relax myself like we always do. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, as amazing it was winning a championship, you know, just being a part of that and like being a part of that down to the wire. Like I used to coach basketball, as you all know, and like conference tournament time, you know, just being in the hunt is just an honor and something you don't know when it's going to happen again. And just glad that the ducks fell in the row when we were able to pull it off, because that class.
Like Brandon Phillips was spraying some de-icer in there. I think it had some extra go-go juice in there.
Yeah, for the people listening audio only, we are watching Chase's final pass right here, and I'm pretty sure it's a doctored video because it just cut right to where they were dropping the hook into the truck, and Chase makes his pass down through there. What'd you end up? Fourth, was it?
Yeah, fourth on the Saturday night, which, that class is so competitive. Like, it's stupid competitive. There's 27 trucks running. But on that particular night, we were a late hook, and it seemed like the distances were going away, which as a driver, your asshole gets tight thinking, oh, well, how can I F this up? But probably made about as good of a run as anyone did all night. We pulled in the fourth and had to watch a couple more, but it was pretty well clinched when it ran. So it was a moment I will never forget. I'm not downplaying it, and it's I don't really know how it happened.
I think it all started with me talking shit to you on this podcast because I remember you were talking some trash about how bad I've been pulling the last couple of years, and I think I had to chirp in there that I think I got more championships than you do, but now you're catching up with me, so it's kind of. I
normally listen to you on this podcast, Adam. I listen to you more whenever you're actually like on the track doing action. I try to tune you out here.
Right.
No, it's again, it was probably the tightest points race there was. The competitors in that class across the board, Donnie Sullivan, repeat champion, Jesse Petro, probably the best two-wheel drive puller of all time, statistically and in my opinion. And you got guys like the Hunt guys from Texas, the Fosters. Like, it was just fun to be a part of that mix and to come out on top. It's not something that we'll ever take for granted. And better believe we partied then, and we're going to party all the way up until the first hook next year. So,
and people said it couldn't be done with what is it? Tell us, is it 20% blower overdrive?
What did Ricky Rose ask whenever we asked him what gear he's running? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll tell you what I'm running. I'm running 45% because that's a maximum I can run. You're over there in the two-wheel drive class where what can you run? Unlimited, or is it 80? What's it capped at?
I think you can run whatever you want to run. If I'm not mistaken,
well,
right, Adam?
It's limited to 45%, Tyler, but I think you're probably about 45.3.
Well, that's a whole nother rule we could dive into. We certainly don't have the time for that. So that's going to have to be another show. But basically what we're saying for the non-technical pulling people is when we say blower overdrive, it's the ratio on how fast the rotors of the blower are spinning in relationship to the crankshaft of the engine. So when we say 45% overdrive, that means the rotors of the blower are turning 45% faster than the crankshaft or the engine RPM. So typically it would be an advantage to run more blower overdrive, get the rotors turning more volume, making more boost. But Chase, even though they can run whatever overdrive they want, unlike the mini rods where we're limited to 45 and some change, Chase is running like 20% instead of the standard like 70 or 80% or at least 60% that a lot of these two-wheel drive guys are doing, just because somebody told them at one point it couldn't be done. So to do it that way, and it's no secret, people can go count your pulleys. We're not telling any trade secrets here, right?
I'm not saying that was the reason I did it or we did it, but everyone's good. There's no right or wrong combination in any class. I think any puller would tell you that. And honestly, it's all just a math equation. Like, you can talk it up or however you want, but between a gear ratio, RPMs and blow overdrive, you can make anything work if you're willing to go out and look stupid a few times, which if you tuned in last year when we first started running that, we looked stupid quite a few times. And to be honest, just full transparency, I was really nervous about that Canton, Ohio pull because that sled was not a sled that we ever run all summer. And anytime you throw that we've thrown that combination at something new, it just sucks really bad the first time. So, but we got lucky and got it right. And like, if we were going 400 foot like we did at Rockwell, I think I got like next to last. We would have been done. But luckily, they didn't have enough room for 400
How
foot.
long's the track, Adam? How long's the track?
Oh, we don't know how long it is. We went through all of 2024 and still don't know what it's supposed to be. So
yeah,
that's right.
But it's really just it's all a math equation. No right or wrong way of doing this, but it is. It does sound a little different mid-track probably than most other vehicles, but that doesn't mean it doesn't works any better or works any worse. It just worked for us this year.
Well, somehow you made it work. So kudos to you and Mr. Brian McDonald for making that happen.
For sure. Brian is equally, if not more, responsible for this championship than me because, as you two know, I'm not that smart, but he's very smart. So
yeah, we'll touch on that later for sure. And Adam and I's most recent hook, we were down in Nashville, not Nashville, Tennessee, but Nashville, Illinois, where we got to play together for the weekend. And it was.
Tyler, where's your broom? Where's the broom? That's worth the interruption, Mark. You need a broom for that statement.
Yeah, well, I don't get a broom because I didn't win Friday night. But yeah, we'll give you an interruption, Mark. But
yeah.
The track was a little, how should we say, questionable Saturday night, a little hard, if you will. But I was still lucky enough to take home a nice Happy Gilmore check, and I don't win many pulls, so you bet your ass I'm bringing that Happy Gilmore check right into the background of the podcast with me, along with this nice eagle-looking trophy here. So, and I know what you're thinking, $4,000. That seems a little high. And shout out to Mr. Brad Hulshauer for throwing $4,000 to the first place in every single class with over 15. That's pretty kick-ass.
As a more promoters like them. I've heard there's another
on top of the regular purse. Isn't that correct?
That actually wasn't correct. So we got a little deceived. I shouldn't say deceived. We were confused Friday night because my dad was fortunate enough to win, and he got a check for $1,600 and a check for $4,000. I know you guys are confused there, but it does pay $1,600 to win normally. But it was actually
don't say that out loud again, please.
Instead of the $1,600, it was just a straight $4,000. But we're not complaining. It's not truck show money, but I think it comes in second as far as a mini rod pull. So, we've been getting our butts kicked all year. We started out horrible in the season. We can't catch Jeff Hurt going into the last event, but you know what? We finally got one on him and had a better weekend than him. So, yeah.
Congrats on the
to say tricky. I think Friday night it was equally tricky as in how good the track was. It was very wet, and it was kind of surprising a lot of people because the track will change when it's that wet. Mini rod tractor will actually dry the track out. They spin the tires, move a lot of dirt, kind of dry up the top layer. And say the track probably got a little bit better towards the end there. But, the track was really good Friday and Saturday. They just tried to dry it up a little bit. And boy, did they.
I would say that the track builders got told, we don't want it soft and wet. Don't do that again. So we had dry and hard. We're watching a video of Adam's pass right now, and walk us through it there, Adam.
Yeah, I go out there. The starting line was really hard, and you could see me feathering the throttle all the way out. See little flames there at the end. I'll tell you why here in a second. But we feathered it off the line there to get it going, to get the sled moving, a little momentum. And I was actually really surprised when I was about partial throttle there and it picked the front end up. I was like, oh my, it took off, went pretty good. And went down through there. It kind of felt like it was one wheeling at the end. And when I backed out of it, see a little flame coming out of the pipe. It's because I had the timing really low on the engine. We backed the engine down to get down that track. And,
you got down the track, though. I'll give you that.
I made a decent run with it. I was really happy with it. At that time, I think I was third hook. I think I took the lead by a pretty decent amount. And I knew it was going to be, a respectable run.
Well, let's take a look at your other passes too. I mean, you got three tractors there. You had 3 stabs at it.
Yeah, that's right. 3 stabs. And after watching Tyler Slaw's run, which he really smoked us, this is the second attempt after Tyler had run and taken the lead.
And you're hooked to a tree stump?
No, this one took off fairly well too. Actually, I gave it a little bit too much power, I want to say, in the middle. It took off good. It started to pick the front end up, and when I came with the throttle, you see me open it up, and it just came unglued. And
it didn't like that at all.
It didn't like it. But it's kind of hard to see. But if you watch the butterflies, they're really not pushing the throttle forward that hard at all, and just trying to get the thing moving. And had the engine backed off, not enough, and had it full of fuel. Probably needed more, and it just. When I came with the throttle,
I saw some sparks there again from your brakes. What are you doing? You running titanium rotors or something?
No, it's called lots of pressure on the brakes. When the track's not good, sometimes you need to hold the brakes, or when it makes a hard dart like that, you got to hit the brakes, and kind of keep it from getting out of control. So,
you had
unfortunate there. It was moving pretty good.
Fun here that. You're considering selling your blue and red tractor after these passes, right?
It was so exciting. I'm just like, they did so good. I think we just need to go out with a bang with them right there. Just get rid of them right there.
So
what better way to move on?
This may be the last pass you made in this red tractor.
It is the last pass we made in the tractor. That was the last pass in the class. I think the 7 or 8 tractors before me maybe could not even move the sled. This is the first time I'm seeing it.
Yeah,
it actually took off, and
that's a hooking son of a bitch, Adam.
It is.
Somebody ought to buy it.
Yeah. And you know what's really funny? So I will say this is the mistake I made at the beginning of the night, because the track was really wet the night before. And I kind of know my tractors and the weight that they have. I didn't have the hitch all the way up, and I would have given just about anything to be able to raise that hitch all the way up. There.
Rookie move. You always got to have that all the way up.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep. I wasn't expecting us to be pulling on something harder than Chinese arithmetic there. It was definitely an eye-opening experience. I like to feel, Tyler was standing at the end of the track, and when I pulled off, I shut it off. I said, congratulated him. Said, good job, buddy. And I said, at least I made it down the track.
You did. I was proud of you. Better to be lucky than good for me. I mean,
from an onlooker's perspective, because I've heard I think I talked to both of you, or maybe someone else in the class, and talk about this, but literally this is what's amazing to me about tractor pulling. You all pulled there earlier in the year, and you said it was the best track you pulled on all year long. You go to the same place again, it's the worst track you pulled on all year long. So that's pretty interesting, honestly, just to put it in full context. And it probably all just comes down to some weather conditions and water. Would you say that?
I would say so. I mean, I feel like we don't give our track builders enough credit, because when they do it right, it's a thankless job. And as pullers, we get to miss our setup all the time and just call it a weekend. But if a track builder misses their setup, they know it. They don't need us coming up to them afterwards and telling them it. They're damn well aware 3 hooks into the class, and they're like, shit, And so that just goes to show, when you don't see a track that's too wet or too hard, that those guys have nailed their job, and they've, and it's just thankless. We just assume it should be that way,
Well, there's so many aspects to it. You look at the track, and if it's too wet, there's so many things that it does. For a mini rod puller, I'd rather it be too wet than too dry.
I feel like we can put on a better show if it's too wet than too dry, but it is.
So that's just a preference, but there are so many aspects you look at when the track's wet like that, and you got like big 10,000-pound pro stocks, and you got this heavy sled and everything. Like the sled got hung up. The show tends to take a little bit longer because people may not be able to get out of the ruts, and they have to get pulled out. So there's many reasons why the track can speed the show up or slow it down. The harder track, the sled rolls easier. You can back the sled up quicker. It's easier to clean up and fill in the holes and all this stuff. So, yes, Friday night it was a little wet. They needed to dry it up a little bit. Got a little bit too carried away. The sun was out all day. It was windy, and it just got too dry. And by the time you roll it in, it's too late. You can dump water on it, but it's already hard, and it just puts a crust on the top. And when the pro stocks go down the track and you notice that they're not breaking the ground but maybe an inch, we're going to have a problem. And
you said it yourself, though, Adam. There's no such thing as bad tracks. There's just bad
setups. That's right. So that's why
as in lane, right?
Yeah. I mean, not because everybody was getting pretty frustrated there towards the end, and I thought a lot about just take it back to the trailer. But I thought, man, this might be the last pass ever making this tractor. I'm going to get it down the track, and it is what it is. It's tricky. Everybody, I think it's good to pull on bad tracks sometimes, because I think it teaches you more on bad tracks than it does. Anybody can get on a good track, push the throttle forward, and hook up and go, in my mind.
Yeah. I was really considering coming to that event, but I didn't not end up coming. And when I turned it on Sunday to watch Sunday afternoon, I was glad I didn't come. But I enjoyed watching you guys make it down the track.
I think he was scared about betting us and the outcome of it.
I would agree, Adam. I don't think Chase would have been smart enough to adapt and overcome given that situation of circumstances. So
I mean, when you run your timing at 7,
Tyler, come on, man.
Chase, when you run your timing at 17, you can't go any lower. We understand all the horsepower you make. You just go, I just can't get down the track. I get it, man.
So it's a bad show. Nobody likes any of that, but there are some things that you can laugh about when something goes that bad. And I'm the type of person, like, you can be mad and beat your head against the wall, but sometimes you just got to laugh about it. Yeah. And talking to both of you as friends, like we always talk off air. Believe it or not, we are friends off air. At least we act like we are. One of the funniest things I heard Adam say is, I think it was Adam. It may have been you. I'm sorry if I get mixed up. Is the guy before you ran, and all you saw was black marks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was me. It was definitely me. So I go out there and I'm going to set the cone because I didn't have Toby with me. I got to set the cone myself.
Hang on. Give me an interruption.
Go ahead.
Go. Keep in mind when you're setting the cone, you're looking for a groove normally. Right. You're looking for like a soft, like moisture and like a lane. Like you never go out there and see black marks and just try to determine what's happening from there. Yep. I don't know why. I just can't quit laughing when I think about this story.
Yep. Well, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be comic relief there, but it was kind of funny. I go out there to set the sled, and the tractor in front of the tractor I'm following could not move the sled. I mean, it did not move it, I think, 5 feet. And they gave up on it, whatever. So I go out there, and the guy that's in front of me moves the sled over, and I walk out in front of the sled. There's just these 2 big old black marks on the dirt. There's no rut where they've dug in or anything. Just 2 black marks on the track, and they moved this. They didn't even try to prep it. They just moved the sled over and
Didn't one of you say when the grader's coming through, there were sparks coming up off the dirt?
I don't know about that.
They got the Rakinator. I can't even make the noise that it was making, but if you can imagine, have a skid steer.
Nothing about that was cool, and nobody wants that, but sometimes you just got to laugh.
They have a skid steer right at the starting line with a rake on it. It's got this little big box on it. It looks kind of like a pallet almost with these knives hanging at the bottom. And they usually smack it in the ground, and it kind of breaks it up and evens it up. It couldn't even break the ground, so it was just going, whoa. It was just like dragging it across concrete is basically what it sounded like.
I gotta share this moment with y'all, and I've told you this. Like every organization, every pool is running that situation. Like there's a track gone really bad. Like it's not like that event or that organization. Everyone's had it happen, and I'm going to give you an example now because my cousin who I pull with, CJ, this is a moment I'll never forget. It's not cool, but again, you got to laugh about it. So there was a NTPA event in Dodge City, Kansas, a couple of years ago. I think it was maybe 22 or 21. I can't recall.
The year I didn't run with NTPA.
Yeah, but the saving grace of that event, and the event never happened again. Like I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer or negative here. This is just the black and white of the information. The last day that event ever happened on Saturday, it was a similar type scenario, but the only difference was there was no live streaming going on, so nobody really knew what happened. And it was very similar. It was actually probably maybe worse. And I remember my cousin CJ I was in the midway through, and I think it was me and Adam Bauer were the only ones that literally went down the track, and Adam got first and second, or we were the top 3, but it was the exact same scenario. And CJ was at the end of the class. And the guy that goes before him, and I don't want to bring up these videos.
Oh, he already did. It's already on. He brought the name up.
Yeah, CJ said Chris Burnett.
No, but like this happened at Nashville the other day. Like there's nothing you could say to your teammate when the guy before him is hooked to the sled, like happened at Nashville. The driver gives it throttle, and he's sitting there spinning like he's tied to a tree, and he's moving like nothing's going anywhere. So Chris Burnett, shout out to him. He's our buddy, and he would laugh about this. He was before CJ, and I'm setting the cone like it's a complete shit show. Like, how are we going to get down the track like you guys? And he takes off, and he can't, it's just spinning, and he keeps giving more throttle, and he keeps spinning. He's probably at 6,000 RPMs, 7,000, not going anywhere. And he starts looking around, and everybody like, what the hell's going on? And just stops. I'm setting the cone on my knees crying, laughing because I'm just one of these people. I just laugh at shit. I can't help it. And I went to CJ. I said, all right, just don't do what he did. Don't do what he did, and you'll be all right. So my point is, shit happens everywhere across the country. And luckily, tires get tore up bad, but I don't think too much shit got tore up there outside tires the other night. So nobody ever wants that. Hopefully it's the last one in the history of pulling.
Not Tyler's.
Yeah, honestly, my tires looked great, but I think what part of the problem is with people not being able to move the sled is people have been so conditioned to run a lug literally, and when I say a lug, I mean the tread on the tire like 100 thousandths tall, because that's how they can keep these things tame. And I've always been dumb enough to try to be persistent to run as large of a lug as what I can. And I truly think that in addition to the numbers game, I was benefited by numbers for sure, but I truly think that's the only reason I was able to get down the track on Saturday when nobody else could, just because I had larger lugs than everybody else.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? We all have these friends that know we pull but have no idea what we're doing. Coming back from a pull and they're like, "Hey, how'd it go?" Like, well, I didn't move the sled, but it was great. But
yeah,
that's part of it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you showed my runs. Let's see Tyler's runs. I'm pretty sure he smoked it down there.
I mean, it did hook up pretty good for me. I'm not complaining. So, like I said, I got the Happy Gilmore check. So, and speaking of Happy Gilmore checks, I believe you guys are going to be running for some I guess we're going to take a look at my run here first. Why not? And so,
no practice podcast.
I ran right after Mike Evans failed to move the sled. And here I am with a tire with a lug higher than 100 thousandths. And look at that. The front end is up. I mean, it's still trying to hook up as I'm burning it in. The front end's bouncing off the ground.
They look a little peeled back a little bit, but look at the size of the lug when you spin out. You can tell there's lug on the tire.
Yeah. CJ hits the comment just right. You know, it's tradition when somebody wins a pull, even if everything's not perfect, to be like, that's the best damn track I've ever pulled on in my entire goddamn life.
So basically you're saying everyone else sucks and you're great.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I got lucky because I don't run a teeny tiny tread on my tire like a lot of people do.
Okay, so a teeny tiny lug on Friday night won, though.
That's true, and that's why I didn't win Friday. And that just goes to show how volatile the setup is on these things. Like what wins one night might not win the next night. Like you got to be good, and you got to have the right equipment. But there's always a little bit of luck involved too every time you get a win. I'm a true.
Yeah, I definitely. I look back at go back to the trailer. My buddies go, well, what have you done different? I said, well, I can tell you this. I don't have any lug on my tires, and I got second, but Bruce has less lug than I do, and that's why he won. Because I think it had a lot to do with it, because the track was so wet.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like a science project to me.
Try having 3 of them and always guessing wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hurt my tires, but I did hurt my shoes on Friday. I was over at Adam's trailer and I probably had a couple too many beers. And I feel like it's the trend of the summer. Everybody sees it on Snapchat or Facebook. Everybody's burning like pans of methanol or maybe half a keg of methanol, and they light it on fire and they stand around it. And it's like a nice smokeless, odorless campfire. And like an idiot, Chase, I dipped my shoe. I was wearing a set of Hey Dudes, not very fire resistant, I must say. And I kind of kicked at the methanol because I was curious how much it would splash. And when I pulled my shoe out, my shoe was just a ball of flames. And I kicked my shoe off, which unfortunately hit my girlfriend, Courtney, but she didn't start on fire, so that's good. And so then I put my foot on the ground, and all of a sudden I'm like, damn, my foot's still pretty hot. And I looked down, and my sock was still just on fire. So I had to quick stomp that out. So didn't really hurt tires, but I did hurt a set of shoes. So we should
probably put a disclaimer on here when you tell your stories. Please do not try this at home.
For anybody that doesn't know, methanol burns very clean. It's a nice fire, nice heat. About a gallon will burn probably good 45 minutes to 45, 50 minutes or so. We burned a few pans that night. It's getting towards the end of the year. We got a little left over. The weather was excellent, beautiful weather. So it was perfect for fire. But yeah, I kind of told Tyler, it's like, don't agitate the methanol. It kind of flames up when you agitate it. So he was poking the bear and maybe got a little bit too close there. But I think we also had fun on Saturday night. We had some of my friends that were there, and Tyler came over, and we were having a few beverages.
Yeah.
And my buddy Rodney's sitting here, and Tyler says, let's move the pan really close to him and light it.
Disclaimer, that is methanol burning in a aluminum pan.
So look at that pan. It's a 1/4 inch from his shoe, which if you've been around these methanol pans burning, where his leg is probably like 120 degrees, if not hotter. And that poor guy fell asleep. We shoved the pan right against his shoe, lit that baby up, and wait till you see the look on his face once he realizes his legs are on fire, and he kind of just looks down, and then he looks up like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
For anyone looking for friends, don't be friends with Adam and Tyler. I do not treat people like this.
That poor guy's skin was red as if he had gotten sunburned for like 12 hours straight.
Yeah, it's called don't fall asleep at the party, brother.
Don't fall asleep around the fire. But all right, speaking of Happy Gilmore checks, you guys are going to be running for them this coming weekend at the Inderley. Kind of interesting in the mini rod class. There's so many 2-tractor teams. And for the mini rods, there's not a single team that got 2 tractors qualified. But both of you are in, and I was looking at placing my bets on full pull. And Chase, I have to know, will Brian McDonald be driving your mini rod, seeing how he's the only reason it qualified for the Inderley when he got the win for you at Wauseon? I need to know.
Well, your betting history on this podcast isn't always the friendliest, so I guess it depends on what you're betting. If it's
I don't know if I want to bet until I know this.
If it's just general cash on full pull picks, then we can probably say I'm driving it. If it's a real life bet, I'll probably have him drive it because I don't want to get tased or get a mousetrap or a hot tamale or what the hell y'all eat in my mouth.
So does this mean you're going to be driving at the Inderley?
Or
are you going to drive the truck and Brian's going to drive his mini and your mini?
I don't really care. Anybody can drive anything. I don't care. Hell,
damn it, people! Damn it, Chase! The people need to know what is.
We don't need a Christian McCaffrey thing here where everybody thinks he's playing and then they pull the cord on him and then everybody loses money because of it.
This isn't the presidential debate last night. Give us a damn straight answer.
Yeah, come on, enough lying. Okay.
I guess I will drive it unless I'm told otherwise.
Okay, so you're going to be driving it. Well, I'm not going to be there in person, but I do plan to watch it live for sure if I'm not going down the track.
And it's a special this week, full pull live subscription, $19.99. You can sign up, new subscribers to watch this week. And guys, we're like pulling doesn't end this week. We're going to make this a year-round sport, or do what we can to make it year-round. There's 6 events coming this fall, 4 that have been announced that are going to follow up on the full pull live stream, starting in October. Couple not mentioned right now, but the North Carolina State Fair, Region 4 NTPA event, always a household fall event. The Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pullers finale in Lufkin, Texas, October 25th, 26th. Diesel's Dark Corners, for those of you that don't know, that is one of the coolest places I've ever been in my life. Tyler and Adam, you literally got to drive 30 minutes to get to a gas station to be in this place, and it's in the middle of woods. And somehow they packed 10,000 people in there. It's really cool event. Go to it. If not, it will be streamed on Full Pull Live. And then the Golden State Invitational in California. It's the farm machinery show for California. I heard a rumor that a couple of guys in this podcast may be going out there to commentate it, but there's more to come on that. But yeah, sign up this week, $19.99. Pulling is just not a summertime sport. We got it year round, and we're going to do our best to expose it.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Pulling's not going anywhere no matter the time of year. Well, what do you think? Do you guys want to break down another topic that we were thinking of, or should we bring in our guests?
The one that broke the internet yesterday. By the way, our guest, Diesel 4-wheel drive Grand National Champion Craig Dickey, he's waiting patiently backstage.
Yeah.
It's called somebody besides the Cummins won that class.
Yeah, I think we should bring him in to discuss this with us, to be honest. So we've got Mr. Craig Dickey coming on. Look, there he is already. He is your Grand National Champion with a damn Duramax under the hood, not a Cummins. Didn't even get a single first this year in the Grand National. 2 region wins. I don't even think he got a second, but he still finished with a total of 269 points to take the win. Craig, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. How many years have you been at this with the Duramax?
We've been doing it. Oh boy, I would have to say I've been doing it over 10 years, and then before that, my brother-in-law Wes was running the truck. back. I think he started right around that 2005 mark with a stock pickup. Is kind of where it all started, and then obviously it kept getting out of hand.
And always with a Duramax, never that inline nonsense, right?
No, it's never been an inline.
It's never going to be at this point, is it?
No, Patty has pressured us for a lot of years. I know last year at Bowling Green we wrecked a motor, and Patty, she's parked right next to us, and she watched us all night overhaul an engine and put it back in that truck. And she kept telling us, I got an inline at the shop. I got an inline at the shop. We're like, if we're going to put an inline in, we're just quitting.
I love it. So,
I love that.
So break it down. Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, break it down for us. How do you get the set of cojones to basically name the truck the Cummins Killer? And it's a big shot.
Yeah, no, it was that was years ago with the first Cummins Killer, and we've just stuck with it. So we just have always, because we've always kind of been the Lone Ranger. So we thought, well, we'll go out on a limb and we'll just call it the Cummins Killer, and then I don't know, it's helped us out along the ways. The lovers love us and the haters love us too.
I was gonna say the haters immediately, as soon as that thing rolls out there, they go, this guy thinks he's gonna beat a Cummins. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's what people always laugh. You see online. I sit and eat breakfast and read comments and stuff, and that thing can't kill no Cummins. And well, this year we were consistent enough to win points. We never won, like you said, we never won a pole, an event, but
Don't matter.
It was consistency that kept us in there.
I love that. You're basically saying you're eating haters' comments for breakfast and just shitting out a championship at the end of the year. Walk us through what that takes, the development of that engine, because I mean, if I'm going to go get into the diesel, four-wheel drive class right now, I'm going to go buy a Cummins like everybody else has, right? Because the engine package is developed. It's there. They know that it's reliable, but you guys have essentially built this thing, like you say, when it was basically a stock truck. So walk us through what that transformation looked like.
So we started out years ago. We were common rail, and that worked really good in the 3.0 days because you can really fine tune stuff. And we moved up to super stock, and we started moving more air and stuff like that, and turning the engine harder, making more horsepower. We found that you can make 2,800 horse with a stock block, but after that it just breaks in half. So we found the weak point of the stock blocks, and then from there.
How many did you break? How many stock blocks did you break?
Well, I know he's here at the shop sitting on the shelf. I think there's still 4 of them up there. Because Chris likes to hang on to some stuff, and I don't know why.
I mean, they make good trophies, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to know the block count on how many you broke before you're like, let's move.
Oh yeah, we broke a lot of them, and then with Jeremy Wagler, he helped us, and Chris kind of designed that 3-piece billet aluminum block that we have now, and that allowed us to keep pushing things harder and harder. And then we found our weak point was the common rail fuel system. Our thoughts are, right or wrong, we felt that the injectors couldn't fire fast enough. When you start spinning 6,500 to 7,400 RPM, that truck does, the injectors just can't fire fast enough. So in 2020, when we built the new chassis and put the new body on it, Performance Pros built us that new chassis. We went with the mechanical pump, and I'll tell you what, Chris told me, he said, it's going to take 4 or 5 years to figure this thing out. There's going to be growing pains. And I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of growing pains, but the consistency has paid off. The nice part about the mechanical pump, it just fires the same every time. And I got to say, this year has been just a blast because the truck stayed together. We didn't work on it hardly at all year besides changing oil and adjusting valves and just checking things. But it's made it a lot more fun, not
breaking blocks,
working on it every weekend, overhauling engines. Once it took me a while to convince Chris that we didn't need 200 pounds of boost to win, because that was just putting rods in the oil pan, and we backed it down. Eric Stacy told me for years, you don't need all that boost, 120, that's all you need. And so we backed it down to 120, and like I said, it was just a blast.
So when you say common rail versus mechanical, we're dumbasses that just run alcohol. We got spark plugs. There's nothing to it. Break down the difference between common rail and mechanical for all those listening that don't know what the difference is.
I think Craig just called us a dumbass. He said, "Yep."
Yeah, that's right.
No, common rail is like what your typical stock Duramax stock fuel system runs. So that runs high pressure fuel. So you run between 36 and 40,000 psi is what we were running for fuel pressure, and then your injector's electronically fired, and you use a pulse width which holds the injector open for so many milliseconds, and then closes it right away. Where mechanical is just a pump, so it's just got a cam inside pushing a plunger, and it just injects the fuel. So like your crack pressure, your injector is about 43 to 4,500 psi, and just cracks the injector and injects the fuel. And it just, like I said, it's consistent. It just, every time that pump goes around, it don't matter what anything else is doing. It puts in the same amount of fuel every time.
So where all of us alcohol guys, or some of us, are kind of crying for electronic fuel injection, you had the ability to run it, but when you got pushing things hard, you defaulted to mechanical?
Correct, yes. Yep.
So Tyler, you say some, because I don't think that way.
Oh, sorry. Some of us. You hear some people are like, we need EFI and the alcohol stuff. But it's interesting to hear somebody that had the ability within the rule set to run it said, no, I'm going to do away with that, and I'm going to go back to mechanical. I kind of like that.
Good. Well, the problem with us, like I said, we went through a struggle that we just kept burning pistons with it. And like I said, our theory, we knew for a fact it took over 90 degrees of crank rotation to get all our fuel in with common rails. So it's taking way too long to get the fuel in. So that's when we started checking into these, working with Jeremy Wagler and Jim from Weimer's on these injection pumps. And I mean, we're injecting fuel now between 16 and 20 degrees. So it don't take near as long, and we actually burn about twice the amount of fuel in a pass than we did common rail. Common rail, we were about 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons if your pass got really long. But with the mechanical, we're 2.5 to 3 gallons of fuel a pass every pass.
That's quite a bit.
Amazing. We do that when we warm up.
Yeah.
So with your fuel, do you go to the station and you just buy diesel fuel, or what do you?
So we just use number 2 pump fuel, and then we put a lubricity in it to help, because fuel is so dry nowadays with the low sulfur fuel. And then we dump cetane into it, and basically all the cetane is doing is it helps our trucks get out onto the track. We're running fairly low compression. I run 12.5 to 1 compression. So to fire that diesel, you need a little extra to get out on the track. That's basically all we use cetane for. Yeah, it can build more horsepower, but we got wastegates and don't need all that horsepower anyways. And so it's to get the trucks out on the track, and so they're not blubbering, and you've seen them where they wet stack and smoke and bark flames out of the stack.
I've heard of a wet stack. Yeah, that's a bad deal.
Yeah, it makes a mess out of the truck, that's for sure.
So you're not worried about Marvin finding a little too much cetane in there and telling you?
Well, that's where you got to be careful. Marvin likes to test fuel, so we always, every once in a while when they say they got their tester, we run a test over there and let them test it to make sure we're not too hot.
Nice. Right. So do you have your own tester at home so you can kind of pre-test your blend?
No, we don't. That's why I check mine. I know a lot of guys, we've talked about it too. Kent from Shy Diesel blends a lot of fuel, and he's got a tester, and we thought of just buying their fuel because then it's consistently the same.
So
I'm just yeah, go ahead.
If you were going to say, who's the Walter White of the fuel mixtures in the diesel world?
Yeah.
I guess I don't even know who Walter White is.
Oh, come on.
So it's a chemist, like the guy.
He's a chemist.
Without any context, Craig, Walter White makes the best crystal meth out there. We'll just leave it at that.
Wow, sounds good.
It's a TV show. TV show, just so you know.
TV show.
Greg, I don't know who Walter is either.
You ever get about a month to sit down and watch TV? You want to watch a really riveting show? You watch Breaking Bad. It's on Netflix or whatever. It's an awesome show. But he's kind of like the most pure, like the best blend of crystal meth that they make. But who makes the hot diesel fuel? I want to know. I want some fingers pointing over who's got the best diesel fuel out there.
I guess I don't know. I know as far as pump fuel, we use Quick Trip fuel up here in the Midwest. We got Quick Trips, and you guys see them all when you come to Toma. And actually, for years before they changed the fuel rule, I would take tests down there right from the pump. It always seemed to be at Shides, and I'd take a test over to John Mears one year, and I said, "This is straight out of the pump," and he's like, "Well, it's too hot," and I'm like, "Well, what do you want me to do? That I just went to Quick Trip on the way down. Now my fuel's too hot."
And Walter White.
Yeah, they adjusted it from there because I know the biggest thing in the diesel fuel world is biofuel. And up here in Wisconsin, we run 20% biofuel, so that definitely makes it warmer. So you got to kind of watch your tests.
What does that even mean? What's biofuel?
Oh, that's where they put corn squeezins in the fuel.
Oh, so
or bean squeezins, I guess.
The corn and bean squeezins make her a little too hot, huh?
Yep. That's biofuel. I know years ago, I want to say back in the 3.0 days, so that 2013, 14 era, a lot of guys were trying to go with B100, so it was pure biofuel, and you could smell when they would drive out on the track because it smelled like French fries. Ooh. And that they outlawed that because that fuel was really blubbery and raw and supposedly made more horsepower. We never seen it make more horsepower on the dyno, but supposedly it did. We just never had that kind of luck.
Well, imagine what that would do for French fry sales at the pull if the delicious aroma of French fries is in the air.
There you go. It's like when you guys add the grape smell to your guys' alcohol
That's
fuel.
Nelson's.
Smells pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the Nelson's. I used to work on Jared Nelson's motor back in the day. You know what? It smells really, really good whenever you're out on the track and you it's like, oh, that smells pretty good. Work on an engine, your shop will stink for 6 months. Smell like grape skull in my building for like 6 months because of that stuff. But whatever.
What's the point of that? What's the point of adding that additive to your guys? Is it just for smell or what?
Yeah, there's actually a company, Wild Willie's. They have everything. Like there's like a list of like 25 different fuel smells that they have. They have stuff like I bought sometime. They have like popcorn, cotton candy, cherry, grape.
Is that shit really just for show? It's not nothing.
Does nothing. No, it's oil, scented oil, and it's hey, if you could tell your wife, it's an essential oil for our tractors. So
I've heard good things about essential oils.
Yeah, breathing good. Yeah.
Let me tell you how hard my dad would tell me to basically eat shit if I said I'm going to dump something in the fuel tank that does nothing but performance, but it'll make it smell nice. He'd be like, "Get the hell out of here with that."
Right. I am not going to lie. I have some in my trailer. I kind of dabbled in that a little bit. Somebody actually bet me that Wild Willie company, they make some that might smell like some greenery that people may smoke, and they said that they would pay me if I put it in my fuel tank just to see people's expressions on their faces. I still haven't done it, so
but you got it in the trailer?
No, I didn't even buy it yet. I bought a few different brands.
Bring it to the Invalid. We'll put it in a 2-wheel drive this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my favorite one is raspberry. That's my favorite smell of all the ones. Now, if I bring that one and we put it in the 2-wheel drive and you get pulled over on the way home and they go sniff around in the trailer, that thing's going to be fucking tore apart because they're going to be looking for drugs.
I did not even know this shit existed till tonight. So the podcast,
Oh, yeah.
this podcast is teaching. I did not know people had the time to put foo-foo sauce in their damn alcohol till tonight. So
see, the difference is, Chase,
I did not know
you spray the foo-foo sauce on you. We put it in our tractors.
Aren't you a funny SOB? Craig,
go ahead, Chase.
Craig, these guys are comedians. If you didn't know, you've mentioned a few names. Again, we don't know a lot other than I think it's badass that Chevrolet won the points this year at Duramax.
GMC, get out of here.
You mentioned, Performance Pros. Take us through your whole team and the people that outside yourself that are responsible for this championship, individually.
Oh, my father-in-law, Chris, for sure. He's the one that pulls with me. He goes every weekend with me. I always blame it on him because he sets the cone and I got to do the driving. So if we do bad, he blames me. And I say, well, it's where you placed me. It was all placement. You guys know that.
I heard father-in-laws are like that.
Obviously, everybody here back at the farm, my wife, kids, they come with quite a bit, but the guys at work that help us out there and keep things going while we're gone, because obviously in the summertime it's a lot of traveling and a lot of running around. And Randy Kleikamp from Performance Pros, he built our chassis, helped us along the way, make chassis adjustments, stuff like that. Jeremy Wagler is a big one. He's helped us do pretty much. He's a mad scientist. He's come up with some wild ideas when we've wrecked parts and stuff, and we don't have answers. He's a guy that can look at things and say, "Well, let's try this," and I would say every time it pretty much bettered everything we were doing. Like I said, in the early years with our mechanical setup, we were breaking rods, and so Jeremy was trying different rods. Now we were running aluminum rods at that time. Now we're running steel rods. So they seem to really work out a lot better and hold up. And then Jim from Weimer Fuel Injection and all his guys with helping us make the adjustments to the pump. It's a new way for everybody. No one else has any data on what a V8 does with a mechanical pump, what injectors to run, what fuel setting, what air you should run. I mean, that's the problem. We're in a league of our own where the inline guys, there's 25 of them, as we've seen at Bowling Green this last year. So there's a lot of data that's already been collected, and they've been doing it for 30 years. And so that was the biggest struggle. And like I said, there's a lot of people that I'm probably not thinking of right now that helped us along the way. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
Sounds like low overdrive in the V8 alcohol world, if you know what that means, Craig.
Yeah.
Also, you won a championship this year, but the other thing I wanted to mention, this is probably the hardest championship anyone's ever won in that class because you all had so many vehicles running at one time. Is that right to say? Because I remember there's many days where the super stock diesel four-wheel drive class, or wasn't the numbers. I mean, you all had 15 plus every event, right? Or right at it?
Pretty close. I want to say like Hutchinson, our numbers were down. I think there was like 11. But otherwise, yeah, no, there was a lot of trucks all year, and that's what made it a tough class. We had a rain date in Hutchinson and a rain date in Toma, so we got rained out at 2 pulls or just 2 hooks. So would that have swung the points one way or another? I can't tell you that, but
who cares?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it was a tough crowd this year. There was a lot of trucks at every hook, and like I said, to be able to come out on top and not win a pull was a big feat in my book, just because of you had to be consistently towards the top. We just were never at the top. So that's been my biggest struggle. Is we laughed about it. We went to we were on our way to Fort Recovery, Ohio at the end of July, and we swung into Goshen, Indiana, and pulled. There's that PPL hook there, and we pulled there with John and Christy, and we just unload out of the trailer and get up to the line and pull. And we ended up winning that pull. So we were on a pretty good high. And then we went to Fort Recovery and kind of stunk. So it just goes to tell you that our class is definitely a driver's class. It's who can get their power hooked to the ground, because with our small tires, it makes it tricky having all that horsepower and that small of a tire.
Do you think there will ever come a day where you guys will run on tires the size of the mini rods or the two-wheel drives as power continues to advance?
I don't know what they want to do. They've talked about weighting the trucks up and making it 8,000 pounds. And I know a lot of other guys in the class don't want to do that, just for the simple fact that, you're starting to stress a lot more drive lines and stuff like that. But I think it's just a matter of getting the trucks hooked up. And I think eventually someone's going to figure something out, if it's tires, if it's chassis, if it's engine, how to do it all. Someone's going to figure it out, but I just don't know when. Like I said, in our class, it's a driver's class. No one dominates. So like I said, we were first in Goshen, pulled with pretty much all the same guys in Fort Recovery, and we got an 8th and a 10th there. So it just goes to show you that it's not, no one dominates. We got a lot of good drivers, a lot of consistent drivers, but no one dominates.
Do you think they should change anything to better apply the horsepower? Because I'm sure people have seen your class, but if they're not paying attention, you guys probably have the least opportunity out of any class to use all of your horsepower. I mean, you guys will be driving those things out to 200 foot, 250 foot, and then we'll see you hammer on them. Do you think something needs to be changed, or is it a good setup like that you almost have too much power for your tire?
Well, I mean, it'd be awesome if we could get all the horsepower hooked to the track. I think it'd be pretty wild. I know between me and Van and a couple other trucks, we're the highest horsepower truck. I know at that last pull in Sandwich, Jason Schultz came over, and we got a sensor on our intermediate shaft between our clutch and our drop box, and it reads torque, and then which you can do the equations and switch over to horsepower. And we made 4,350 for horsepower down in Sandwich, and that was the most horsepower we were able to make all year, and able to apply it, I guess, at that point.
So you're saying that Sandwich had a good track?
Sandwich had a really good track.
Right.
How can you measure horsepower on a data logger? I'm really
break it down for our friend Chase here.
Wait a minute. Just so you know,
Cody McKinley is your man. I don't know if you guys know Cody from Corsa.
Cody.
But anyway, so it's basically done the same way a dyno does it. Is you send your shaft off, and they put a strain gauge on your shaft that measures obviously deflection or torque on the shaft, and then there's a sensor on it that reads your RPM, and then you do your math, and the computer does all that part. You just do the calculations, and it's all right there in your data.
No shit.
Yep.
I did not know you could do that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Chase is going to have it next week. Chase,
I might have it by Andrew.
Chase is going to have a strain gauge. He's going to have a strain gauge on his shaft, but he won't remember her name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
no, it's a cool
these guys are funny as shit, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a cool tool because you can do, you can only spend so much time at the dyno, but every time you change something going down the track, you kind of see how you're applying your horsepower and where you're making your horsepower at. So yeah, no, we made 4,350 at 5,800 RPM, which is pretty low RPM for us. Last year at Diesels and Dark Corners, which has an awesome track, the best track out there, we made 4,424 was our peak horsepower last year.
No, you're probably over 120 pounds of boost then, weren't you?
I was out running my wastegate. I was at 135.
That's good stuff.
Pretty amazing.
Well, I don't mean to change the subject much. I had some fellow Wisconsin people text me and had me ask you about a sign that may potentially be in that shop that we need to see.
Well, actually, that's at the other shop.
Oh.
Damn. Tell us about it.
I can send some pictures over tomorrow, And
no, send them right now. We have access to put this on here.
You do? How do I send pictures on this?
Send them to Chase.
You have my cell number. Text.
Yeah, I gave you Chase's number earlier. Send them to Chase.
So if I scroll up, it won't lose me?
Technically.
Find out.
No.
We still got you, Craig. You're in good shape.
The no practice.
You're good shape.
Hold on.
It's called the no practice. Oh my gosh, he's gone.
No, he's good. We still got him.
Still
Don't worry,
here.
Craig.
I can hear you.
Proceed. Okay, good. You're good. We just can't see you. So if you got to take a leak, Craig, now's a great time to do it because we can't see you, I swear. So I see you tipping that bush light. If you got to head to the bathroom, now's the time to do it.
We don't need a gong show on TV here.
Yeah. So
it's not letting me apply.
But anyways,
there's a sign at our shop in town that some people are excited about and some people aren't. But that's if you guys know Chris at all, you would understand.
That's such a tease. I want to know what it is now.
Well, I was text messaged during the show. Just so you know, I do answer my phone during the show, just so I can make sure I can always get the best stories from all of our guests on. And I was informed that they're. Oh, here we go. Maybe I will.
Maybe you'll receive the picture.
Adam has it.
I have the picture.
All right, Craig.
All right, I sent it to Chase. Chase has got the picture.
Come on back. This is all you need to see.
There you go. That's
okay. So tell us a little bit about this sign because I'm looking already, and it looks like 3
containers.
Send it
to Rogo, Adam. Send it to Rogo.
That's 3 containers tall. So
shipping
that banner's 3 containers tall. That picture there is a picture that was taken before we were done. So there's 3 containers. There's actually 6 containers stacked up on one another, or they're set up in a V. So you see that picture there, and then on the front side, we built a big steel frame that's got the mural of Trump after he was shot, where he's holding his fist in the air.
Oh yeah,
that faces directly towards the highway, and then to put the letters on top in perspective, those were cut on our CNC plasma table out of 5x10 sheets of steel.
Holy!
I tell you what, Craig, Doc Riley would not approve of that.
Well, that's unfortunate for Doc Riley.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, that's quite the sign. So you talk about a plasma table, CNCing them out. Is that part of your job? Tell us what you do for a living.
Okay, so we own a frac sand mining company. So we used to do it in Wisconsin.
Fracking.
Yeah, they don't like fracking. So and all our stuff. We used to do it in Wisconsin, and then you had to deal with the railroad. So we moved all our operations out west. So we have one plant in Hazen, North Dakota, and another plant down in Wyoming, and then we have 2 plants down in Utah. And so what frac sand is, like you guys said, it is bad, they claim, but they drill the oil wells and then fracture the rock. So our part in it is we mine the sand, we wash the sand, we dry the sand, and in some instances we truck the sand right to the well. So we're kind of in all aspects of the frac sand industry. So what frac sand is a really round sand. It's just not any ordinary sand. And then it's got to pass a test called a crush test, which basically they put your sand, these tiny marbles, in a press essentially, and smash it and see how much pressure it takes before it cracks. So, and obviously the higher your crush number, the better quality of sand you are.
Of
course.
Most
of that sand does come from the state of Wisconsin, correct?
A lot of the sand does. We don't do any sand in Wisconsin anymore. Like I said, we do it all out west. We do regional sands because we don't have to deal with the railroad that way. We can just truck our sand right to the well, and it works out because the rail can be a pain in the butt to deal with, and it costs a lot to get your sand on the rail.
I mean, I've heard your boy Don say, I've heard about the fracking. The people are telling me it's great things. It's going to bring oil back to the U.S. Things are going to be fantastic. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah.
So how the hell does somebody even get into that?
Well, before that, working with Chris, my father-in-law, we owned a large excavating company, and we just knew how to move dirt. And obviously, excavating in the upper Midwest, like up in Wisconsin, you're not doing much in the wintertime. So he's not a guy that stays idle for very long. So he just, I guess I don't know how he got into it. I got into it with him. And then from there, we used to do sand back in Wisconsin, like I said, and then we had to deal with the railroad. And Chris said, you know what, I'm done with the railroad. There's sand out there that they can use that we can get right to them. And that's made a huge difference in our operation. As far as keeping us busy, we're always busy. We're always moving. And then when it comes to frac sand plants, we'll build the stuff here in Wisconsin and then ship it out. So like our Wyoming plant, we built in our shop, built it all, stood it up, had it in our shop, took it back down, trucked it out to Wyoming and put it back up.
Holy shit.
So we got back in Wisconsin, I think we got like 10 guys that work for us. We have a very small team of guys, but they're all great guys that work hard. We're on the road a lot. That's why about 2 years ago, we bought our first airplane, and that was a game changer, going from driving all the time to flying. And then our first one was a turboprop, so it was a prop airplane. And well, for Chris, that wasn't fast enough. So then we bought a jet, and that's made life a lot easier, because it's before, when you go from our place out to our Utah plant, it's 18 and a half, 19 hours. So to do all that driving, you almost had to stay out there for 2-3 weeks at a time to make your time well worth it to drive home.
Sure.
And that kind of gets kind of hard with the wife. She gets kind of upset when you're gone for 2-3 weeks at a time. And I've got,
reasonably so.
Right. I got a now 11-year-old boy, and then I got twin daughters that are 6. So at the time we were doing all this, my girls were really young. So having twin girls, in diapers running around home was really hard on my wife. And so she wasn't a big fan of it, but we got through it, and everybody's happy. So
I can put up with it, because if Taylor Swift can fly from New York to Tokyo or Kansas City, where the hell she's going to eat dinner or watch a football game, if you're flying to Wyoming to work on shit, I'm all for it, brother.
Hell
yeah,
going.
no,
It
makes
an hour
it makes it
longer
good.
because of this whole business side. We could go another hour because this is extremely interesting to me. Like the amount of questions I have.
Chase
like
sees airplane and he hears all this stuff. He goes, I need to be doing what these guys are doing.
Well, Chase hurt his back because he had to fly coach this past week. Isn't that right?
Yeah, he's definitely thinking, I need to get in contact with these guys.
That
They got
sounds
airplane.
terrible, coach.
Yeah, geez, what the hell?
Yeah, we call when we got to fly on regular planes. That's what it's kind of the laughing joke around our shop. And someone's like, "Oh, we're gonna fly here," or "Well, how you going?" "Oh, we're going with the common folk." Then you're going commercial. Otherwise, well,
the only thing it means coach in your mind is probably that Prevost you guys are toting that trailer around that may have the longest or the widest spread axles I've ever seen in my life. What is the
on our
axle
trailer
spread? Yes.
No, there's another funny story about Chris. So the Sunday evening before Bowling Green, I was tinkering on the truck, and Chris goes, "Come over here for a minute." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Hold this," and it was a wheel lip, and he drew it out and traced it out on the trailer, and by 6 o'clock that night, we had a new wheel well cut out for a third axle in between our spread. So now we got 3 axles.
You got 3 now?
Long spread anymore.
Oh my gosh! So what was the spread between the first and the second axle?
It's just a
first and
10-foot
third
spread. It's just a 10-foot spread. Everybody thought it was this huge spread, but a lot of the, you look at the 5150s and the wild sides, they're 10-foot spreads, but I think it's the small 17.5 tire that makes it look so small. But yeah, now we got 3 axles, so we don't have this big long spread that everybody talks about.
Because I've always been completely mesmerized how you guys can keep tires on that thing, turning it. I mean, I'm serious. You could drive a car in between them two tires.
Yeah, no, it was quite the spread.
Yeah,
Nope, but it's not there anymore. It's 3 axles.
It's all gone.
Now.
That's
all
awesome.
about triaxle.
I'm gonna come over and check it out this weekend at the Enderley because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm infatuated now.
Were
I
you
literally
blowing
every
tires
time I
before?
would go by that trailer. You guys have a very unique setup, a very beautiful Prevost, nice tag trailer behind it. You guys, it's a fairly, I say small trailer. Those trucks are pretty big, and you guys have a big side by side that you put in there, and it's all puzzle pieced in there. But I've always been intrigued how that trailer, with such a long spread, like how it doesn't snap the axle or the wheel off the axle whenever you're turning because it was so far apart.
Yeah, no, we never had troubles like that. We did have, and I don't know why, the first 3 or 4 years of owning it, we never had a flat tire, and then all of a sudden we started having flat tires all the time. That's why we put the third axle. We figured it was a weight thing, but it never really mattered what tire blew. It just would blow one randomly.
I got a pretty interesting story for you. So my dad would always spread the axles on our trailers more than what they usually come with, because when you get them, they're relatively close, like, maybe a foot between each tire, where ours were spread out a little bit more. So the first trailer that we did that way, it pulled really great behind a dually, which my dad would take the dually and pull the stacker trailer around to do all these shows. So the next trailer he goes, well, I'll go from the 16.5s to the 19.5s. And when he did, it started breaking the wheel wells off. We were pulling out of Larry Peterson's driveway. My dad was headed to Toma. He pulls out of the driveway and turns onto the road, and the back tire just breaks off. Just broke off. Went rolling down the road. We went running out there. We had to come back. We bent the airline up. We put a vice grips around it. We took a ratchet strap and ratchet strapped the axle up so it would hold it up.
Yep.
And he drove to Toma, and then we drove home. 2 axles on one side, 3 on the other. But the only thing that we could figure is the distance from the axle to the ground. When we went from the, like you said, the 17.5s or 16.5s to the 19.5s, that extra distance from the ground just put more torque on the wheel, and it started popping the wheels
it's got more
off.
leverage on the spindle for sure.
Sure. So it's that's why I've always been really intrigued by, I'm like, we got a triple axle, and it was snapping wheels off it. How are these guys not doing that?
Yeah, we basically why we got that front axle up there so far is because our coach is so heavy, and we always used to get nabbed when you get on the Ohio Turnpike.
Oh yeah,
they would always nab you that you're overweight, and then we'd have to
the
find a way
infamous
around.
No,
the infamous
why are they weighing
Ohio Turnpike?
You're not going into a scale house, are you?
No, but when you get on the Turnpike in Ohio, they must have a rolling scale there that they weigh you on.
Oh,
Yeah, we could probably have an entire episode on people getting onto the Ohio Turnpike.
Ohio
and the
Turnpike
shit that they
horror
do
stories.
to try to get on it.
Maybe that can be a Halloween version of the No Practice podcast. Stories from hell on the Ohio Turnpike.
Okay, so go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, go. Well, I was going to say, not to steal Adam's question, but Adam, ask him your go-to. Go for it.
Yeah, my go-to question. So in all the years of traveling up and down the road, you guys have obviously traveled across this country doing all kinds of things. Do you have a certain travel story that sticks out in your mind? Maybe a funny story, or maybe not so funny. Like Adam Bauer left an event one time, and he plugged something into the wall and didn't realize that the awnings went out, and they took a toll booth out with their awnings off their trailer. I just didn't know if you had an interesting story like that.
Well, so yeah, kind of. So it happened to be last year. We were coming into Chicago, and we lost a wheel bearing on our trailer. And we watched our tire bounce off of the concrete median, and we watched it come back across the highway, and we slowed down. It rolled right up next to us and hit the fence. So we get out, this tire's smoking, we load it up in the trailer and drive down the road to a turnoff. And, well, we met some interesting friends there. So we get out, we got welders, and I actually had a spare hub with me and bearings. So we get out, there's, I don't know, 6, 8 of us. It was quite a few of us. Get out, and we're all tearing apart, and someone was thread filing the spindle back down, so we get nuts back on it and stuff like that. And anyways, these guys or guy and gal. It was a him, her, maybe.
It's
They
a
were both
pronoun.
down
Pronoun. You said pronouns.
there. Yeah. So they were. Yeah. Well, I was trying to be nice about it, I guess. I don't know if I was
A
politically
shim.
correct. But...
A shim. You're looking for a
We've already
shim.
talked about politics. They may not take us off the internet tomorrow, so just leave it to that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at shim.
They were standing there, but they kept shying way over by the guardrail. And, we didn't think much of it at first. And pretty soon Chris walked over. He's like, what kind of troubles you got? And they're like, well, our car doesn't run. So Chris was like, well, what's going on with it? And they didn't know. And pretty soon Chris has got the hood up and he's over there working on their car, and here their alternator died. So we grabbed a battery charger out of the trailer, and, we're doing our thing over fixing a wheel bearing, and we started charging their car and everything else.
This is downtown Chicago?
This is right in Chicago.
Nice area.
True humanitarians.
Yep.
That's why y'all want a championship. You're true humanitarians. Carry on.
Yeah.
This is getting good, Craig.
So anyways, they just kind of shied away from us, and Chris is like, well, that's really odd. We're trying to help them out, and they were shying away from us. I don't get that. I'm like, well, Chris, you got to think about where we are. We're in downtown Chicago, and a bunch of white hillbillies jump out of a Prevost bus and start tearing wheel bearings off, and shit's flying all over the place. And we had a welder out, and like I said, grinders, and it's just not something you see in downtown Chicago. And then to help somebody out in downtown Chicago, they were really shocked at that. So that was probably one of my funniest stories. I think I've got. It's one that's always stuck with me. That they were just shocked that Chris is over there working on their car while we're broke down too.
What time of day was it?
It was about midnight, 1 o'clock.
Oh, they'd have been more comfortable if you robbed them, for sure.
Probably.
Does he pack a gun on him?
What's that?
Does he pack a gun?
No, we didn't have nothing.
Nope. It's illegal in the state of Illinois, Chase. Come on, you know that.
I didn't know. He was wondering where they all went. If he was packing, like, dude, this dude ain't no
strictest gun laws in the country. There was no guns.
As a shim, they weren't packing either, so it's okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, she may have been packing something. We don't know.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's right.
That's why you win points championships, because you're good people. I love that story. Great travel story. I don't know if we've had one like that just yet.
So did you get it welded back on and back on the road? No problem.
Yeah, we got. So we just we got our new hub on, and we had enough threads there that we filed down, and our nut wasn't in the greatest of shape, so we got it.
Nor was the shims.
Yeah, and we got it plenty tight, and tight enough, and then we just tack welded it, and that got us to Fort Recovery. So we made it there and back.
Well, it's amazing, though. I mean, you gotta mention, like, coming from a background that you do. Sounds like there's not much that's going to keep you guys from getting where you need to go. You're kind of like I was taught. When we get up and down the road, you try to bring enough stuff with you. You always stop and help people when they need help. We've done some pretty crazy stuff, man. We had a alternator went out in the motorhome, and this is when we couldn't get. There wasn't 6 inches of room in an entire trailer. We'd climb through cabinets to get battery chargers. We're hooking up a battery charger to the on the motorhome to charge the batteries to drive a mile down the road. And then, like, there's just stories from that always, like, come up when you meet people, all kinds of things that when you meet these people and to do these things, it's always just a memory bank of some of the stories that you can tell about traveling the country.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's all part of the game is the traveling and the stories you got and the things you get to see. And I gotta say, we drive through Chicago in the middle of the night pretty much every time we go to a pull. And
only time to go
through Chicago, but you find some interesting stuff going through Chicago at that time of day. That's for sure.
I'm sure there's a small clan of Cummins Killer III fans in Chicago somewhere talking about that night they were getting their car fixed. So,
or they were like, man, he was awfully cute.
Yeah, something. They left us alone, so I think we're all right there.
I love it.
That's funny.
Craig, I had a question. Go ahead, Doc. How many people can y'all sleep in that bus of y'all's?
So in the white Prevost, we can sleep. There's 9 bunks, and then in the back there's 2 couches, and in the front there's 2 couches. So if
Jeez.
my Wisconsin math is right, we could fit 13 comfortably in there, pretty easy.
Yeah.
We might want to buy your operation tomorrow. My dad, we pack a lot of people around, but we have 4 beds that sleep 16 people. So
see, in Kentucky, cousins sleep with each other.
Yeah, they got to get pretty friendly in there, Yeah. So I've always wondered, you have this beautiful body on your truck, and a lot of the 4-wheel drive guys, have pretty nice bodies on their vehicles. Do you straight up buy a brand new truck and take it apart to get what you have behind you? Or what does the process look like to get that new generation body style on your chassis?
Heck no, you can't do that. So basically what we did, because our biggest thing is, you see on some of them on the fiberglass bodies, is we don't want sticker headlights. We say we don't want painted on headlights. We want the
it looks like a full body. Yeah, you guys do great.
It is a full body. So actually, we had to wait for a long time because that was during all that COVID bullshit, and you couldn't get the double cabs. So we found a box right away. That was easy to find, because you got takeoffs, that people are putting flatbeds on. So we bought just a box. That was $1,000. But then the rest of the pieces, we just bought piece by piece from GM. And between me and Chris, we just spot welded it together here in the shop. It's an interesting. It's very interesting. You do model cars as a kid or whatever, and that stuff all goes together pretty easy because it's rigid. Now start working with roof skins that are like wet noodles as you're trying to put them on, and the roof skin's probably the hardest part to get on because you got to make sure when you put that on that your body is all square, and it kind of solidifies everything. But getting it to that point was like a wet noodle, but we just bought it piece by piece from GM and built it ourselves right here in the shop.
So awesome. Do you guys have auto body experience for you guys to take on a project like that? Because if I'm hearing you correct, this is a steel bodied vehicle that you assembled with panels. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, it is a steel body. So it is a factory body. Yeah. Chris has a lot of experience in auto body. So he's the body man. I just help out, I guess. I do the engines. He can do.
Is Chris available? I need to get this man on the.
Is Chris the Dos Equis man of Wisconsin? He's the most interesting man in the world.
He's kind of a guy. If you tell him you can't do that, he's going to find a way to get it done. You know. So we
built the Cummins Killer.
yeah,
absolutely.
So one night we go to set this body on, and it should be the right wheelbase, and we start measuring, and we're like, something's off here. Well, here when they changed to the double cab, the cabs got like 6 inches longer, so our wheelbase for our truck was all out of whack. So we have this full box sitting in the shop, and we got talking, well, how are we going to do it? And he's like, well, we're going to have to shorten the box. Okay. And so we drew it out on the box, and I said, well, I'm going to go up and eat dinner quick. So I went up to my house, I ate dinner, I came back down. When I came back, he had her cut in half, and in about an hour and a half, we had it tacked back together. And then obviously welding that thin steel without warping the shit out of it was, you did a little here and a little there, and it took quite a bit of time. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't 20 minutes. He had that box cut in half, and we were going back together with it. So
Chris is the father-in-law, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Correct.
So there's
I got an interruption board back there. I'll take one. Why is he not our guest instead of you?
I don't know. I told him he had to be on it when I was asked to be on here.
Yeah.
I said, can I make Chris be on there too? And they're like, that's
Chase
fine,
is all in. Chase is all into these shirts, right? So he's all about making shirts. We're just gonna make a shirt for you. Say, who the fuck is Chris?
Yeah, no,
because we don't know it.
I want to know about the moment, like you kind of always have that interaction when you kind of meet a girl and then you go to meet her father, and like you're kind of sizing up the dad and the dad's kind of sizing up you, and you guys are trying to figure out, like, what was the moment where you realized, Craig, where you're like, this guy's an auto body professional, dirt moving, harvesting oil out of sand, can do anything in the world type of guy. Like, what was that? What was the moment when you realized that?
Chicago humanitarian?
Yeah, right. No, when was that moment? I guess I don't know. So it's kind of a funny backstory. Is my wife showed horses with my dad. My dad is into performance horses, so my wife showed horses with my dad, and I did pulling trucks with Mariah's dad. I was with a different group at the time.
Are y'all from Kentucky?
Nope.
I'm kidding.
So we kind of all knew each other in a roundabout way, but really didn't know each other. And it actually took going all the way to Indiana to Shides to meet my wife. So I met her down at Shide Diesel Extravaganzas, where I met her. But I just kind of always knew Chris. I had met him, a few years prior, because the guys that I was helped doing pulling trucks with at that time had Duramaxes also. So we knew Chris on, buying used parts or parts that they wouldn't work for them, but would work for us, low horsepower parts. We've got a lot of them around here. So I kind of knew that, or Chris. And then after I met my wife, I came down and started working with Chris. And that's when I really figured out that, hey, this guy does anything. And if you tell him he can do it, guess what? He's going to do it.
God, that's inspiring. But you literally had the moment where you were like, wait a minute. So this is the daughter of that guy I know. And she had that moment where she went, wait a minute, this is the son of that guy I kind of know. And you guys were like, okay, this could work.
Yeah, I suppose it could all happen that way. But, I guess when you think about it, yeah, that's probably one of the things that how it went down.
What are the chances of that? Jeez.
Right.
There's never been a bad marriage in tractor pulling, right? Like if you meet a woman at a tractor pull via tractor pull,
I think there's a few, Chase.
I'm not saying they all work.
No, but like I've always heard if you meet one through tractor pull, it always turns out good. So
I met my wife at a tractor pull, and I have to say it's the best decision I've ever made.
Very inspiring, as would Craig say, I'm sure.
You guys see these Prevost buses, so we bought a second bus last August.
Wait a minute, there's two? No, I'm joking.
There's two. So anyways, on the Prevost, you can change the front caps on them. Most people take them places, or everybody else takes them places. Not Chris. He takes a Saturday afternoon and cuts the front end off of his bus because he doesn't like it to put a new one on. So, like I said, there ain't nothing that he doesn't accomplish when you tell him what are you doing.
Those things are pretty cheap too. So that's just a drop in the bucket.
Episode 25 guess. Episode 26 is going to be Chris. What's Chris's last name?
Chris Kuzlik. Well, we can get him on. On Kuzlik.
I think that guy's owed a shout out. Really. This is what makes this sport amazing. These stories, this is not just a competitive hobby. This is a family thing for y'all, and that's what we try to do this podcast. And it's great to hear about this because obviously, from your wife and your father-in-law interaction to knowing the details of building one of those damn bodies on a truck, this is really brilliant. Like I'm a Cummins Killer diehard fan the rest of my life, I think.
Absolutely. Craig, I want to know about the most absurd thing Chris has ever taken on, where you're like, what in the hell is he doing? And then sure enough, 48 hours later, he's good to go.
I would say one of the most recent things was putting that axle underneath the trailer. Like I said, it was Sunday afternoon, and he decides that he's going to cut the trailer apart. And it's like, hey, we're leaving Wednesday to go. Yeah, I know. We'll be done.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
But
fits like a glove too.
And he was right. I would say Monday night we were wrapped up pretty good and put the finishing touches on Tuesday. And I guess I would have never dreamt it in a million years that we would have had an axle underneath there and pretty much ready to go by Tuesday midday. But it was.
You know what's funny, Adam and Tyler? It sounds like the guys that gave birth to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Board.
Yeah, my dad's got a little bit of that in him for sure.
Yeah, my dad has a lot of that in him.
We carry spare tires and everything for our rig, and people are like, how the hell are you going to change that? And you get underneath there with a 20-ton bottle jack and an impact, and I mean a flat tire on the trailer, even a steer tire on the rig. It's like, oh no, 20 minutes tops, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Get back on the
NASCAR style. Hey, Tyler, if you want to say screw the bottle jack, just get some wood out and pull the son of a bitch up on some blocks of wood. Fucking knock the tire off, put a new one off on the road.
We had that same issue. We blew a tire, I don't know, last year coming home from a pull, and there was we pulled into a rest stop, and there was a truck right next to us, and it's 1:30 in the morning. Anyways, it happened to be, it was just me and Chris. I'm sure we had a bunch of other people with us, but no one else got up. But it was like 5 minutes we had that tire changed because the impact happened to be right inside the door. So it was zip, 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 and put a new tire on. The trucker opens up his door. He's like, "You guys don't work for NASCAR or anything, do you?" I'm like, "No, we've just done it a time or two."
Chris is like, I'd work for him if I damn well pleased. I just don't want to.
That's right.
I love this. Shout out, this has been one of our best shows of all time. There's either a lot of Chevrolet fans out there or people are really bored tonight, Craig. We have, I think, record viewership to this show. Shout out to you. This has been awesome. You've been a badass guest. And honestly, we met you when you came on the air, but whenever we get to Enderley this weekend and maybe later at other polls, we're going to drink some beer together. And I want to meet this Chris guy.
For sure. For sure. We always bring plenty of Busch Light. I think that's what fuels us most of the time. So, on the weekends.
We got a lot in common.
Oh, we got Busch Light. I got 15 cases delivered today.
There you go.
15 case delivery?
Well, it wasn't delivered. I had to go pick it up from my cousin's. My cousin.
Oh, his cousins.
Well, right up the road, the farm there. We usually have a group of guys that order pallets. We usually get, I don't know, I think there's about 4 or 5 pallets up there today.
That's just smart spending right there.
Peeled off my 15 cases that I got because I got a thirsty group. I don't drink that much, but
oh yeah, he doesn't do much drinking at all. Yeah.
That's funny. Like we got a house right next to our plant in Wyoming, and it actually is about, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile from the bar. Anyways, one night we were sitting around up at the house out in Wyoming, and we called the bar and we're like, "Hey, can we get pizza and a couple of 30 packs of Busch Light?" And sure, they delivered it and everything.
What a service. We got to shout out that establishment.
Service.
Do you know the establishment?
Yeah, it's Hank's.
Hanks.
If you're ever in Wright, Wyoming, and you stop by Hank's, Wright ain't very big. You got 2 choices: Hank's or the bowling alley. That's all you get to eat in that town.
I love it. Perfect.
All
right. Well, Craig, we're going to do a little segment here called the rapid fire questions. And I just throw a dozen questions your way, and you don't feel like you need to elaborate on them in any way. We'll roll right through them. They're kind of stupid, but usually it kind of helps us break the ice with people. But honestly, they're not even needed for you at all. But I prepared them anyway, so we're going to throw them your way.
All right.
Let's go. Do you prefer your Pop-Tarts toasted or untoasted?
Toasted.
If you had to pick a diesel 4-wheel drive puller to host and moderate the presidential debate, who would it be?
Ooh. It had to be from our class?
Yep.
Oof. That's a tough one.
Rapid fire, Craig.
I would say Jeremy Yager.
What? I lost my spot. What project have you taken on in your life that you regretted the most?
Probably the pulling truck behind me.
That's fair. What diesel 4-wheel drive puller could you easiest beat in a 4th grade math test?
I don't know. We've never done math.
I know. That's why it's a fun question. You got to guess.
What a dick.
I would say Nick Gillette.
Okay. Would you rather raise a herd of cattle for a living or drive a cruise ship?
Ooh, I think raise the cattle.
Do you think you could operate and successfully land a hot air balloon if you took over mid-flight?
Yeah, I think I could YouTube enough to get that figured out.
That's fair enough.
I
What
love
is one thing you have sold that you wish you could have back?
That's a tough one. Probably one of my old pickups.
Fair enough. Would you have trusted the first ever man that drank milk from a cow and tried it, or would you have called him crazy?
I would have called him crazy.
Yeah, I agree. What is the worst vacation you've ever been on?
I don't know.
Craig, have you ever watched this show?
Craig, I really got you with that cow
vacations
one.
are different than trips.
Yeah.
So I take a lot of trips. Trips are with your kids. Vacations are without. So
Yeah. Worst vacation, Craig.
I think Florida one time I got sick.
That's fair. Have you ever given yourself a haircut?
I suppose back when I was about 4.
I figured so. What's the longest a chicken has ever lived? Is that cut off?
What you got to say that one again.
Sorry. What is the longest a chicken has ever lived with its head cut off?
6 seconds.
18 months back in 1940. And last, if you had to daily drive a Cummins, would you choose the classic 89 to 93 first gen or a 94 to 98 second gen Cummins?
Second gen.
All right. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's just 12 questions. Good job, Craig. Good job.
1948, 18 months.
18 months in 1940, a chicken lived with its head cut off. Yeah.
They didn't have the internet
Who
then.
documents this stuff?
Yeah, it's all bullshit. It's
Yeah, probably.
Craig,
I don't know.
believe any of it.
It was really funny. I was down in Tennessee the other weekend when we actually had a weekend off, Labor Day weekend. The Wasion, we drove home and whatnot. And we went to this coffee shop in the morning with my wife. She absolutely loves Walnut Hill Coffee Place in Tennessee. And I'm standing there in line because I don't really drink coffee, but I come across this box of stuff. It's called Campfire Quandary. And I opened it up, and there's these little cards in here. There's black and white, and it's basically Tyler Slaw's mind on cards. It's like, would you rather have an eternal unquenchable thirst, or would you have a paralyzing fear of buttons and zippers? That's the kind of mind that you have, bro.
Oh, that's
awesome.
tough, Craig. Where are you going with that? Would you rather always be thirsty or be scared of buttons and zippers?
Oh, I'd rather be scared of buttons and zippers.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate being thirsty because then you end up half drunk, and
That's right.
being half drunk's no good.
Right.
No,
So I was just going to ask you. I have a lot of information or questions coming through my phone for questions for you. Now, you told us that you met your wife at Shy Diesel Extravaganza, but how did you really meet your wife at the Shy Diesel Extravaganza?
Was she in the bikini contest, Greg?
Actually, how I met her was 12 of us got into a Crown Victoria, which supposedly was a taxi cab, and that was interesting too because there was seven of us in the back seat and one laying across. His head was hanging out one window, his feet out the other, and then I think there was 4 in the front seat. And we went to the strip club in downtown Terre Haute.
Oh boy!
And I'll tell you what, that was one fine establishment.
I'll bet.
Is that because you met your wife or because it was just that good?
It was just that good. It was that good.
Oh.
But anyways, no, I met her, and then that was the year.
She was the driver of the taxi cab, Craig. Is that correct?
No, she wasn't. Because later on that evening, when we were getting our ride home, we got pulled over, and the guy that was supposedly our taxi cab really wasn't a taxi cab. And we all got seatbelt tickets because there wasn't enough seatbelts for a bunch of us in the car when we got pulled over. He was just apparently some random guy that was driving down the road, and we just got in his car.
A good Samaritan.
And he gave us a ride.
So that's the world repaying you for the good nature that you had someday of repairing somebody's car in Chicago. It was just like, you know what? Here's a stranger to get you where you need to go.
That's right. He got us there. We definitely tipped him well. It was kind of odd that he didn't have a meter, but it worked out. And then he picked us up, and then the cops pull us all out, and they're like, "Well, we're going to give you seatbelt tickets." I think they're like $25 or something.
Beats a DUI.
Yeah.
Hey,
Anyways, he goes, "Just so you guys know, this guy is not a taxi cab driver." And we're like, "What?" And we're like, "Well, now what?" He's like, "Well, we're just."
Did he tell you to get back in the car and go on your merry way, or what?
Yeah, we got in the car and he gave us a ride back to the fairgrounds, and we made her.
What a good guy! You probably even gave him a better tip when you realized he didn't do that for a living, huh?
Right? Yeah.
Hey,
No,
this is the night you met your wife.
Yep.
No wonder it's turned out so amazing.
Yeah,
Hell,
absolutely.
That's right.
So did the same guy bring you there and take you back?
Correct. He gave us his phone number, so we thought
like,
he was.
"These
have it.
idiots
You
give
still
me
have it?
money."
Do you still have it?
His number? No.
Yeah.
Can we call him?
No, I don't
Okay,
have
yeah.
his number. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
He probably would have he might have a different perspective on it than what we
Something
had.
tells me that guy's got some damn stories. If he's just driving around being like, "Hell yeah, get in. Oh, you're hanging out my window. I don't care. Call me later when you need a ride back."
It's the founder of Uber.
It was the
right.
guy who started Uber.
Can you imagine?
All right, I got another question coming in hot off the phone here. What's the most speeding tickets you've ever gotten on a trip?
The most speeding tickets?
Yeah.
None.
None?
With the bus or just
on a
regular
trip. It says on a trip. I'm just reading off what's coming on my phone.
A trip. So on a trip, I mean, I've got my fair share of speeding tickets. I like to drive fast, but the coach does do a lot of fast driving too, and we've been really lucky. For some reason, I don't know if it's an intimidation factor, but the cops usually don't pull that coach over, because I know last year on our way to Bowling Green, Craig Ludwig was behind us, and they're from Beaver Dam. They got the Pro Stock tractor, Never Give Up, and we met them at the toll booth just coming off the Skyway, because we take the Skyway because the Skyway says no trucks. Well, we're not a truck, we're a coach. We're an
That's
RV.
right.
And so we take the Skyway, and they got on. We hit that toll booth at Gary at the same time, and we pulled out of there, and they came over. They're like, "What is in that bus?" It was just nothing but asses and elbows, and we got a 605 horse Cummins, and we're like, "Well, we got a 650 horse Detroit. We're the Cummins Killer team. We got to whip on all the Cummins."
You're damn right.
You talking shit, motherfucker?
Yeah.
I love it. You know what it probably is? The cops leave you alone because they saw questionable characters in Chicago wearing Cummins Killer T-shirts, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm
The
leaving
same
that
guys,
freaking
Yeah,
alone."
leave them guys alone.
Who's Cummins? He's a killer of Cummins. Who's Cummins?
All right, the favorite question we always like to ask, Adam. I get mixed up on
Go
which
ahead.
one's your question because you own them all. I just take your seconds, or maybe this is Tyler's question. Craig, if there's one puller, actually Tyler, the one puller in the pull off Bowling Green Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, all right, I'll go ahead.
You're right. I'm sorry, Craig. I suck at
Go ahead, Sergeant Stutters.
Yeah. Chase doesn't have any original questions, so he likes to steal ours. But so it's Saturday night at Bowling Green. Craig is last hook in the class. If you are going to take the win from somebody, who is it a little bit more special when you get to take it from that certain someone? Who is that someone?
Well, I don't want to hate on Van, but it would be Van. Van
Absolutely.
is my guy I've been gunning for all year, and he's the guy. If I can get out in front, he's always the tough guy to beat. So if I can get in front of him, I always take the opportunity.
Do you
Absolutely.
like the person?
We've said before that, because we've had guests on that are very sheepish to answer that question, and we say it is more of a respect thing if they're the person with the target on their back. So, I mean, I don't think Van would take any offense to that. Like, really, it's an honor if somebody's like, "That's the man I want to beat." So, well said.
Yeah.
Would you ever drink beer with Van? Are y'all friends?
Oh yeah. We drink beer with Van. We get information from Van. Van don't usually. We can usually talk Van into one beer, but not many more after that. I don't think he's much of a drinker like we are. Unfortunately.
Does he give more information after one beer or before the one beer?
No, Van's full of a lot of information. I mean, he's always been very helpful. even coming from a Cummins background, we've used a lot of his information and because when you look at it, a rotating assembly is a rotating assembly. So we've gotten a pile of information from Van over the years on things to try and things that have worked and things that haven't worked. He's a great guy. Him and Patty, great people. They've been around the sport forever and they've tried just about everything. So except for a V8. But
Van had a mini rod though, didn't he, back in the day?
I don't know. I guess I've only known Van as a diesel puller.
Okay, I thought he had a mini rod back in the day, but I'm gonna have to ask him on that. So I've heard that from diesel 4-wheel drive guys that they say, so and so shared this with me. You mentioned Eric Stacy earlier, saying you don't need over 120 psi. Like I feel like in other classes, there's a lot more, trademark secrets, if you will, to getting down the track. But in your guys' class, is everybody that transparent where they're talking sharing air pressure, gear ratios, things like that? Or is there a cap as far as how much information they'll share with who?
It all depends on the person. I've gotten a lot of information from everybody, and I gotta say in our class, everybody in our class being inline guys, have supported us along the way and gave us a pile of information. Eric Stacy, Shane Kellogg, Don and Nick Gillette, Jeremy Yager. I mean, everybody, Kent Crowder, have always helped us with information. Yeah, there's some things that, you only talk to certain people about gear ratio and tire pressure. Other than that, I mean, in our class, there's not a lot of rules. That's the nice part about it. And it's not, there's no one that's complaining that they want, well, this guy's winning, so we want the rules changed to kick him out type of deal. And we don't have that. I mean, there's no rules. And once again, we don't have anybody that dominates our class. It's a driver's class. It's getting that horsepower hooked up going down the track. Like you said, there's a lot of times it's 200, 250 feet, 275 feet before you can go full throttle. And so most of the time it has a lot to do with hook position and applying the power to the track.
So needless to say, there's no hair supporters in the diesel 4-wheel drive class.
I don't feel that way. I gotta say, there's everybody talks to everybody. I don't know of anybody that I can say in the diesel super stock class says, "Oh, we don't like that guy over there," or anything like that. I've been told a lot of years that they thought we were assholes and kind of stuck up because we never really talked to anybody. But we were always so busy wrenching on our motor that we didn't have time to talk to anybody. It was our biggest downfall.
Anybody that watches this tonight is going to realize that you'll gel well with anyone because, I mean, I didn't know you from anyone. I mean, I knew of your guys' truck, and your accomplishments. But, I mean, I'd come over and drink beer tomorrow if I was at a pull, and I'm going to find you next time you're at one with me for sure.
All right. Yeah, no, not a problem.
Yeah, I think you're a really cool guy. I think you're an awesome dude. I feel like you're a new friend, but I really want to meet Chris more than you.
Well, he's standing right here.
I'm kissing.
He's here now. He finally showed
I love it. Can we get him on camera? Adam, hit him with
I don't know if you'll get him on camera.
I will, but I want to ask.
You ain't getting him on camera.
I want to ask him one more question before we get into my famous question that I usually ask.
They're all your questions.
So I've seen that this diesel 4-wheel drive class is a really tight knit class. They look out for each other. You guys are like a big bunch. For anybody who doesn't know, I don't think the Superstock diesel 4-wheel drive class is ever sanctioned at the same time, whether it's PPL or NTPA. You can kind of run both, and it gives you an opportunity to go whatever. So being that the class is as tight-knit as it is, and knowing some of the characters that are in that class, what is maybe they've done it to you or that you've heard throughout the class, is there a prank that somebody has pulled on somebody on the class that maybe you've heard about or maybe been a victim of? Yeah. Part of, maybe you were doing the poking. Any pranks that you guys pulled in that class?
Not that I'm aware of that we've ever done any pranking that I'm aware of. But now you've kind of put the bug in my ear. It's definitely a possibility from here on out.
I'm not gonna name names. I'm not going to name names, but I have heard about a particular group of guys in that class that may or may not have maybe ventured over to somebody else's house, maybe filled up a sprayer with some fertilizer and made some figures in their figurines in their yard, maybe sexual figures, I don't know, and it maybe had a whole bunch of characters through their yard. I just heard this is a story. Maybe we need to get the other guys on to talk about this.
Well, that's a possibility. The problem is we're so far away from everybody else up here in Wisconsin that it's a long drive up here to go goof around.
I got you.
You're not driving places, you're flying places, Craig.
Yeah.
So, Craig, do you got a pilot's license or does Chris have it?
I was going to ask, who flies a damn plane?
None of us? You got a driver?
We have a pilot.
Yeah, that's the way to go. If you're gonna have the plane, might as well just ride in the back.
That's right.
Do you ever drink beer in the plane?
Oh yeah. Every time we come home, the pilot always has cold Busch Lights in the cooler, and he makes sure the plane is full of snacks.
So whenever you're airborne, like there's a cooler on there and you're pounding beers.
Yep. On the way home.
They say there's no such thing as a stupid question, but that was a dumbass question, Chase. This guy's got a plane. He's got somebody to fly it, and they're like, do you drink a beer on the plane?
No,
I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't know. What was that reference in the show? I don't know half the shit y'all say on there anyway. Walter White. I didn't know Walter White was either.
Get out of here! You're crazy.
It's all right, Chase.
Crazy.
You're learning.
Okay,
right. Craig.
Back to the serious questions.
Oh, sorry.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask him the question that Chase always steals from me. If you were in charge of the pulling world, whether it be NTPA, PPL, whatever organization, but if you're in charge of pulling, what is one thing that you would do to make the sport better?
Oh, I don't know. Oh boy.
It's a tough question.
Don't get soft now, Craig. You've had an hour and 20 minutes of lazy.
For a diesel 4-wheel drive guy, I would make all these pulls that you have 2 tracks at. I would make one because we, as diesel 4-wheel drive guys, we like a tighter track. We like tight tracks. So
I'm pretty sure if you came to Nashville, you wouldn't have been able to get down that track. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's hard saying.
She was pretty tight, let me tell you.
I tell you what, the tightest track we pull on is that diesel and dark corners, that red clay.
Right.
But
this was tighter.
Yeah, but that's the only way we can apply all our horsepower is a good tight track.
Right. No, a 10,000-pound pro stock had a hard time hooking up off the line.
Are you going diesel and dark corners again this year?
Yeah, we gotta bring their belt back.
Tell us about the belt, Chris or Craig.
What's that?
Tell us about the belt.
So it's a wrestling belt. You want to grab it? I can show them.
Yeah, hell yeah, we need to see that thing.
Have him walk around the corner with it so we can actually see him.
Anyways, so it's the overall distance. Over the weekend, you got 2 hooks, and then who has the longest overall distance is wins the belt. So lucky for us, last year we went to diesel and dark corners and swept the weekend. So this year, Van keeps telling us, here it is.
Get that on the camera. Oh wow!
Yeah,
DIDC.
That's cool.
That's
so Van keeps reminding me how it chaps his ass that we went down there and whipped him good 2 nights in a row, and he keeps reminding us. And now when he won down at Sandwich, he said, just so you know, I'm coming down to whip your guys' ass at diesel and dark corners because I ain't having it any other way.
This is the shit we need in pulling. I love it. So diesel and dark corners, 1st of November. We'll be all tuned in, and we will be recapping your little quote there to remind everyone that Van is coming to kick your ass and the Duramax's ass. And
yep.
I think you'll have something to say about that. So good
Absolutely.
shit. Tyler, I know you got another one, and we can get
so
Craig
real quick before we get into 2 truths and 1 lie, which I know you're ready for. I've seen a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, select individuals on Facebook complaining about these long pan sleds in the diesel four-wheel drive class, these newer sleds. Talk to us about what the longer pan sled has done for your class. Take it or leave it. What are your thoughts?
Indifferent. I don't know how I feel on them. We've never struggled with them. But I know a lot of other guys have. And I gotta say, we learned a lot with them. It's obviously in the NTPA world with the Bauer sleds. It's going to be the new way, obviously, and
take it or leave it, right? It's staying.
right. So it's kind of an adapt and overcome type of situation. And what we've learned is we've changed some gearing and geared differently for those sleds. And I know a lot of guys, I don't necessarily know if it's gearing or what it is or what's different about their trucks, but I know a lot of guys, it upsets the rear of their trucks and makes it a struggle for them. And I don't have the answer for them because we've never really had that issue. So I don't,
Do you
I
think
don't
it's
know.
driving? You think it's just driving?
No, I think it's all on, and I don't know this for sure because Vaughn has talked to us about it. We're really heavy on the rear tires of our truck, and I don't know if that's the ticket or what is the ticket, but I know that is one thing different from a lot of other trucks. We're almost 1,000 pounds on the rear, where a lot of them are 300 to 600 pounds on the rear of their tires. So is that the answer? I don't know. I just know that I personally have never really struggled with those sleds.
I'd like to think when somebody complains to you about it, it's like the old commercial. You smack them and you say, should have had a V8.
Yeah, right.
How's it feel to be a bitch?
All right. Our last thing.
I haven't been a full drive ever because I couldn't handle that.
Yeah, we couldn't handle that. So our last thing, and which I actually, let's pull back the curtain a bit. I had the privilege of calling Craig. Oh, I don't know. What was it, Craig? 40 minutes before this whole thing went live?
Yep. Yeah, about that.
So Chase is supposed to be calling these people, touching base with them, sending them the link. So I get told to give Craig a call, and I get his cell phone number. I call him up, and I'm like, so what's going on? Has anybody, talked to you at all? And Craig's like, basically no one. And I'm like, well, did you get the link? He's like, nope, I don't have the link. He's like, I didn't even know if we were still on for tonight. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I walked Craig through it because Chase dropped the ball, and I told Craig to prepare for what we call 2 truths and 1 lie, which is where Craig is going to give us 3 statements, and the 3 of us are going to try to figure out which one is the lie, and therefore which one are the 2 truths. Craig, take it away.
Well, I would say one would be I was a grand champion gardener in 4-H.
Okay.
The other one would be, boy, I don't know. I'm ill prepared. I would say one would be owning a Chevy pickup with a Cummins engine in it. And the other one, I guess, would be that I was a local plumber at one time.
Ooh. You're like a poker player there, Craig. I like how you fuck with all these Cummins guys all the time.
Yeah. Chase, you want to go first?
The plumber's a lie.
I'm gonna say the championship gardener's a lie.
Okay.
Adam?
What exactly classifies you as a championship gardener in 4-H?
No, you don't get preliminary questions. You don't get more.
So just saying.
Yeah, no practice podcast.
You gotta win. Weren't you ever in 4-H when you won?
Yes, I was.
A grand champion or reserve champion ribbon.
That means you have
we
nice.
Didn't get participation trophies in 4-H.
That's
nice
right.
Gardening tools, a good hoe. That's all you need for that.
That's right.
Gardener.
It's like an Enderley invite. Just show up.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the second one. You had a Chevy with a Cummins in it.
Okay.
What is it?
What is it?
Yeah, you got to tell us now.
What's the lie?
Oh, well, so I owned an 86 Chevy pickup.
Damn it.
That me and a
Square
buddy
body.
put a 12-valve Cummins in.
Yeah, brother.
And growing up, one year my sisters were all in horses in 4-H, and I was the odd duck out. I got 4 sisters, 2 older, 2 younger, no brothers. So my parents
Don't tell
always
Chase
had
that.
Yeah, my parents always grew a big garden. So that year, I think I had a broken arm. So I got to do all the gardening and weeding, and I took gardening to the local county fair and won a grand champion ribbon.
No
Damn.
shit.
Is that the last championship you won till this year?
It's been a while. There's been a drought. Well, not necessarily. I won this belt at Diesel and
Oh,
Dark
yeah,
Horse.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're damn right.
Hey,
Which
you know
one's the
what?
lot?
In Europe, they call every event they win a championship. So when you're a 20-time champion, you only won 20 events. So it's
Oh
not that
man,
big of a
Joe
deal.
Etter would have to re-sticker his truck so many times.
Craig, so which one's the lie?
What do you
I
think?
was never a local plumber.
I like how Chase has one other option and he can't figure out what it is.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh damn it! I love it.
It was there's two people in this 4-way conversation that's won Grand National Championships this year. So I think we know what we're doing.
2?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
This year. This year. Oh, I'm
I said
sorry.
this year. Oh, don't yell at me because you didn't win one this year. You could have got 2-wheel drive.
Yeah. I won 2 while you're still coaching basketball.
No.
Well, we're all driving Cummins at some point in our life. So, Craig,
Not me, brother.
it's been a great show. Any final words from your end? This has been freaking awesome because we did not know you from Adam, no pun intended, and you've been a badass guest. And I cannot.
I
wait.
appreciate you guys.
I cannot
having me
wait to
on.
drink beer with you and Chris this weekend at Enderley. Any
Yeah,
final words? or
He's so
anything?
excited. Come over to his trailer, and he's going to have a case of Busch Light for you to drink out of his cooler.
Yeah, you'll never run dry. If you ever at a pool in NTPA pool where I am, and you're out of beer, just come to where we are. I promise you, we'll find you one. So
No,
All right.
they'll get you a Mick Ultra. If you really want to drink Busch Light, stroll past the Kester camp. We'll always have an ice cold one ready for you, brother.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. I didn't. When I was asked by Doug to be on here, and he's like, "Would you like to do it?" I'm like, "Sure," but I don't really know them guys. He said, "Oh, don't worry about it. They'll let you know what you got to do." And then that's why I messaged him tonight.
silence.
I'm like, "Hey, no one's gotten a hold of me. It's been nothing but silence." And he's like, "Oh my god." And then 5 minutes later, Tyler.
We're very
So-
unprofessional. If you haven't figured that out yet, we're very unprofessional. We used to, when we used to start the show, we would talk for 2 days before we started the podcast on and off a little bit. Now we're lucky to get 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Maybe the day of.
That was the funny part. I texted Doug and I said, "Hey, is it? You said it was a no practice podcast. I suppose they don't want me practicing, right?"
Nope.
exactly. We don't want you thinking about it. We want it all real, and you've been a real mofo just to put it on us.
Yeah. We
I
don't even
appreciate you guys. It was a good time.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Craig. Before we tell you
Congrats on
goodbye,
your championship
is
too.
there any questions
you.
you have for us, Craig? I always like to give the guests that opportunity.
I guess I don't.
All right. You don't
It
have
was
to.
just a fun time. If you guys want to have me on again, let me know. It was a blast. So
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Cheers to
Cheers to you, Craig. Congrats on your
sounds
championship.
good. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we'll
Greg.
see.
It was
Appreciate
awesome,
you.
bud.
We'll see some of you down at the Enderley this weekend.
Some of us,
That's
not the ones that are doing it the easy way.
Yeah, he'll be in Dragway 42.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I didn't say that out loud.
Chase, you want to give me a hard time, but what's the value on your Enderley check?
Hey, I got a big old check I could have put in here that says Brian McDonald on it for winning with my tractor. I just forgot to bring it.
What about those big checks?
Yeah.
Oh
Got
yeah,
some big checks over there. We probably got. Oh, wait a minute. You got big checks over there.
Yeah. See,
Big
I'm not
checks
that
over there.
cool. I don't have that many. So when I finally get one, I'm like, I'm bringing that bitch on, damn it. It's
Yeah,
probably
I'll
the last one.
never be
Probably
as-
the last one I'll
Never
ever
be
get.
as nor take myself as serious as you all do. So, but badass guest Craig Dickey. I think that was
He
our
was
best
awesome.
show ever. That's our best show ever.
I really think I love the stories. Honestly, I love the stories of where they come from, the things they do. Obviously, it sounds to me like those guys would never be met with a task they can't accomplish. Like,
I could have talked about that fracking sand deal for an hour and a half. You kidding me?
Well, you're pretty political. We get it, Don. We get it, Don.
I could have talked about this story, them being in Chicago and helping. I was thinking like the story was going to go. He's over there helping some homeless guys, and somebody pulls a heater out. Like I mean, not that
the heater was when they took it. They went to go to the bathroom. Was when the heater came out. That's all that happened.
Sure, for sure. So, gentlemen, we continue to do it. The fans are amazing. Our viewership, I can't have no words for it. I can't wait.
Chase is getting stopped in every airport that he goes to now, I think.
Yeah.
And people.
Yeah, I didn't tell you. Yeah, I was in Chicago. I told you guys, but I was
flying coach.
Whoever you are, it was an 8 a.m. flight. And I was walking through last minute to the flight, unfortunately. And some guy stopped me and said, "No practice podcast. This is at O'Hare Airport." And I'm like, "Hey, man, how you doing? I'm on my way to the." He's like, "No, I love it. Let's take a picture." He took a picture, and I should have got his name, but I was in such a hurry to make my flight. And when I got to the plane, I texted Adam and Tyler. I was like, "Dude, I just met some guy at O'Hare, took a picture of me. Like, what a nice guy, but what unfortunate circumstance for him that he wanted to take a picture of me on a Thursday morning." But
I'm sure you looked fantastic.
Tyler has become a phenomenon because of this podcast. I think at Bowling Green, I've heard or seen more people want to do a shotgun with you in person.
Yeah.
And you never turn it down.
Well, I even had a guy at Nashville. Yeah, there's the guy that showed up at my work wearing one of those T-shirts one time. I mean, I had a guy at Nashville, and it was Saturday at about 2:00, and I'm not real big on drinking before the pools, but one beer is not going to affect this guy. And this guy was in his mid-50s, and he walked up to me, smacked me on the shoulder, and he goes, "No practice podcast. I want to shotgun a beer with you right now." And I said, "All right, let's do it. I'll go grab two of them out of the cooler." And he goes, "No, man, I'm just shitting you." He's like, "I know better than that." And I was like, "Oh, I thought you were serious." He's like, "Would you really have done it?" I'm like, "Of course I would have done it, but only one." Only one.
Sure. No.
I think we wrap it. I mean, there's nothing the three of us can say that's going to be more entertaining than when that gentleman was with us.
For sure.
No, absolutely. Pretty phenomenal.
We're getting wrapped up here. Adam and I are going to Enderley Pull-Off this weekend. Tyler's going to, is it Dragway 42?
Dragway 42.
Lucas Oil event. And then we'll be back in a couple of weeks. We heckle each other a lot in this show, but these guys are really family to us, or you guys are family to me. And I just want to tell Adam and the MBR family we love them. And we're here for you at all times, brother. And
appreciate it.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
What better way to sign off and then just saying we love pulling them. Love you guys, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks. Unless you guys got something to say.
Let's wrap it.
It's been a good one. That was a good show. I think we're getting slightly better at this. We're still not great at it, but I think we're enjoying what we're doing. I hope the fans are enjoying what they're hearing. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. Really appreciate the guys coming up to us and talking to us and telling us, what they want to hear and the people they want to talk to and hear the backstories on. So just want to appreciate the fans for listening every week that we do this. It's been kind of pretty amazing to see the feedback that we get from this. So it's pretty cool to see there's no practice podcast T-shirts out at these pools and stuff. It's people come up wanting us to sign them and stuff. It's really cool. Want to thank the fans for hanging in with us. Hope we can spend a couple hours of every now and then, a couple hours listening in, that you get a laugh or maybe get some insight on the sport that you didn't know about. And that's all we're trying to do, is just make the sport better and be real people with you guys. So
absolutely. Always come say something, even if we're in the middle of pulling out an engine. Don't be afraid to come over and holler at us for sure. But if there's one thing we suck at, it's saying goodbyes. So on that note, let's actually end it. Cheers.
Cheers, fellas.
See you in a couple weeks.
for the greatest motorsport on Earth? Introducing Full Pull Live, your front row seat to all the action. Don't miss the prestigious NTPA Enderley Memorial Pull-Off, live from Urbana, Ohio on September 14th. Purchase your subscription this week for just $19.99. Full Pull Live, the greatest motorsport on Earth, streams here.
Bye-bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the No Practice Podcast.
Have a good one. Bye.
Stay tuned for the next episode, where we guarantee there still won't be any practice.